Josh Pitts, welcome back to the show.
It is back. It's crazy, dude. I'm so honored and humbled to be hanging out with you. You're truly one of those people. You've been a mentor, literally been a mentor to me. You are literally one of the godfathers of the industry. You've had one of the longest running podcasts of everybody. So I learned from you. So many have learned from you. So kudos to you. And like I said, I'm truly humbled and honored to be hanging out with you and shredding it up with you today.
I appreciate you saying that. You know, it's funny. We all learn from each other. Do you get this? Do you have, I want to put this in the right context. Like when I watch you with your content and stuff and what you produce and what I see you do video wise, I have content envy. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah. Cause I look at you and you make it look so easy. And I'm like, damn it. I want to be like Josh. You know?
Well, first and foremost, I'm humbled. I'm honored. I appreciate that. But I think everybody experiences that to some degree or another. They see somebody else put out content and I'm like, dang, that looks amazing. Or, oh, wow, they did that really well. And one of my favorite parts of that is I always tell people, if I see somebody, like I've seen your content, I'm like, dang, he shared that message really well, or he created a ton of value in that. What can I do now? How can I go and take that and make it my own? And I talk about it a lot. It's called Steal Like an Artist, my favorite book by Austin Kleon. I literally will tell people, if I ever have envy, I'm like, awesome. They just gave me a great idea to go create something of my own, and I'll literally steal it. The difference between stealing and plagiarizing, somebody shared this with me recently, is plagiarizing is if you copy one person. It's called research if you steal from many people. And that's what, so if I see something that Jeff does and then Brian does and Stacy and all these other different people, and I kind of make it my own, that's stealing like an artist, because all the ideas are out there. Just go make it your own. But dude, content envy is a real thing. 100%.
It is. And before we get too deep on this, for anybody listening who may not be familiar with Josh Pitts, what do you want to tell the listeners about who you are? What do you do?
Dude, so I've been in the industry a long dang time, like you. I started as a mortgage professional, still licensed LO. I do not originate anymore, but still have an active license in the state of Utah. Got started as a junior LO, kind of worked my way up through his ranks, became an LO. I loved helping people achieve the dream of home ownership. I owned one of the biggest mortgage brokerages in the state of Utah for years and years. And then started getting into we had grown our business through social media. That's how we did it, like organic social media, not paid social media, organic social media. And so many companies started reaching out to me saying, hey, Josh, how did you do it? Like, how did you actually use social media to grow your company? And people started asking us to do trainings. People asked us to speak on it. And the next thing you know, Shred Media was born almost 6 years ago, which is crazy. And now we help companies grow their business on social media. And we've recently changed our focus and efforts to helping people edit video, because showing up on video, creating amazing content like you and I are talking about, that's one part of it. But then you have to make it look decently good. You have to make it look good, especially to stand out, to get attention with your community. So we actually launched an app called Shredit, where we literally are an all-in-one, done-for-you platform. You don't have to worry. There's AI platforms and Submagic and this and that, but we're an all-in-one, done-for-you platform. Plus, we give you a video editor. We call it a Shredditor that literally gets to know Jeff and your needs. But yeah, that's me. And I love having these conversations. I love being on podcasts and shows, just having great conversations with guys like yourself, Jeff, because there's so many people out there who can learn and grow from mistakes that you and I have made, from things that, conversations that we have had. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
I appreciate that, man. We're going to talk about the app as well. That's actually what brought us kind of back together, because obviously we've talked a number of times over the years. We see each other at events and online. But I was recently attending and having the good fortune of being able to speak main stage, mastermind event, feather in the cap. That's been one of those things that's been on the...
You crushed it, by the way. I actually ended up seeing the majority of your session.
Oh, you did?
And you freaking crushed it. Yeah, I did.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate that.
So
the nervous as hell the night before, got to tell you. So I'm sitting there at the back with a mutual friend of ours, Deborah Bird, and she herself owns a social media company. And she and I struck up this conversation, and she's like, hey, have you been using Josh's Shredit app? I'm like, no. And she starts showing it to me. And so she blew my mind. Like she showed me how easy it was to create, upload, and have someone else edit, a human being, by the way, not just AI, and then have the revisions and then get that usable piece of content back. And when I saw that, I was like, I just felt behind the times. I was like, I'm struggling it out. Just so everybody knows, to me, and you'll get your take on this. People talk about the hardest parts of creating content or doing the whole content game. One of them is, yes, creating it, right? There's some resistance and all kinds of stuff. We'll talk about that. But the other half is editing, like having the good output, like you said. And I've been, as many people have been trying these different AI apps, Opus and Riverside does the same thing. Yeah, Riverside, Cast Magic. Yep. I'm looking at a bunch of them. And the problem is that it never grabs the clip that I want. I would say if I had to, like I just did this yesterday. Let's say I had 10 videos of a podcast or something I uploaded. Of the ones that were good to go without needing any other fixing, it was probably 3 out of 10.
Jeez.
Right? To be honest with you. And so what does that mean?
Crazy.
That means I've got to now, if I don't have somebody to do it, I've got to now go in there, like do all the friggin' tweaking and, editing and dragging the editor. And I suck at editing anyways and hate it. And it's not a high ROI activity. You as well, right? So what prompted you? I mean, is that a problem that you found that a lot of people have?
Oh, huge problem. And that was actually the biggest. So about 1.5 years ago, well, 2 years ago, we started a group called Shredit App, where we were actually coaching specifically on social media. There's some amazing coaches. I mean, you being one of them, there's a lot of people out there who coach on growing your business and this and that. I just wanted to focus on social. I wanted to niche in social. So we rolled out this Shredit App Academy, teaching mortgage professionals, real estate professionals, basically any professional who want to grow their business on social. And something we're teaching hey, how do you use things like InShot? How do you use things like CapCut? How do you use some of these programs to do video editing? And bro, to your point, I hate video editing. It's one of those things, I'm not good at it. I'm not creative in that way. I don't like being able to adjust things, this and that. So as I was teaching these courses and as I was teaching so many people to do video editing, they would get it, but then they would come back to me and be like, Josh, can you you guys do an amazing job. We love your content. It looks amazing. Can you just do it for us? And we started looking at it, and I started looking at some of the Opus clips, the Sub Magics, all this, and there were some good things to it, but we didn't find a program that we loved. Just like you mentioned, some of them we would submit 10, 12 videos and 1 or 2 of them would come back decent. And I'm like, what the and then we'd have to go back in and put some fine tune on it. And by the time we did that, Jeff, honestly, it was just easier for us to edit them ourselves.
Right.
And so we're like, you know what if we could provide a solution that literally where you have a real person? I will absolutely not disregard that we have an AI piece built into it to kind of simplify that process. But you have a real person that's looking hey, this is what Jeff said. This was the better part of that clip. This is what was trying to be encapsulated or what was trying to be shared in this message or in this story during this conversation. And that's what sparked this entire thing is so many people were like, I want to create content. It's too cumbersome. Even with the great apps that are out there, we had one guy come to us. He's like, hey, we have our team of, 20 people that now that we're creating video, the editing is actually becoming so time consuming that it's taking away from what they're actually supposed to be doing. So even though we have these great tools, they'll record clips, but then they have to go, oh, it didn't do this, or the captions weren't right, or the B-roll wasn't right, or this wasn't right. So they would literally have to go back and redo it all, and which is even more time consuming. So yeah, to your point, that's when we're like, hey, could we build something? And we did. We built an amazing team. We brought some of the best develop, which by the way, bro, I will tell everybody, if you ever decide to build an app, it is the biggest headache becoming a technology company and having an app, and because we built it from the ground up. We didn't steal any, we didn't take bits and pieces. We're like, hey, we're going to build this from scratch, and it took well over a year, and we're incredibly happy with it. Is it perfect? No, but it is one of those things that we have hundreds of users on the platform now, and they're cranking out content, and we're simplifying it in a way that they can just show up and share that impactful message with their community.
Yeah, love that. We'll talk more about that, and there'll be links in the show notes and all that.
Yeah.
But I've been definitely using it and finding it easier to streamline my content creation. And why are we even talking about this? Well, it comes back full circle to this is about generating business, right? And this is about staying relevant and top of mind. And this is why it's important. So if anybody's listening and, don't let the point blow past you that if content creation, production, and posting gets in your way, it's on you as equally as it is on me and Josh. We're all running businesses. It's on us to figure out the solution to that, whether that's you hire somebody, whether you use an app like Josh's or whatever the solution is, you've got to figure it out so you produce content consistently. And that's me preaching to myself because I've been struggling with that, right, for some time. Now, interesting stat I heard this morning listening to a YouTube channel. According to this survey that was shared, 50 million people I think it was the country, 50 million people in the United States are earning money from social media. And 15% of them are earning over $100,000 a year, at least 100 grand or more.
Really?
Dude, that's like 5-6 million people.
So this is a very interesting. I've heard something similar. So the question of that is like they're getting paid directly from social media, because
These are
I would
influencers.
Okay. So that makes more sense,
Yeah.
because I tell people, and this actually brings up a great conversation. Something I get asked quite
Mhm.
frequently, Jeff, is like, well, should my goal be to start making money from social media? And I said, no. Like that is
no.
absolutely not. Like if that
Right.
comes to fruition down the road in years, it is not going to happen overnight. Because
Yeah.
when TikTok came out in particular, the rise of these influencers and overnight, I don't want to call anybody an overnight success, but with how the platform was designed, there were some people who grew incredibly fast on that
Right.
platform. And
Right.
so many people began to expect that, like, oh, I heard, Charlie D'Amelio became overnight famous by doing some simple dances, and anyway, that is not the norm for social media. And now more than ever, it continues to change and evolve, and it's a long-term game. And your goal should never be to become an influencer and be getting paid from social media. You should be building your business, just like you said, Jeff.
Mhm.
That should ultimately, especially as mortgage and real estate professionals, you should be showing up consistently in a way that when people go to buy their next house, when they go to refinance, whatever they do, you're top of mind. You're not becoming the next influencer. Like that is
No.
absolutely should not be your goal.
And the reason why I brought that up is because I wanted to segue into the conversation around you as a mortgage originator listening to this, making money from your content on social media. I've had a number of people on, and it's funny, doing the podcast 8 years now. If I go back, when I would always ask the question, what's your number one source of business, right? And so more often than not, it's referral partners, past clients and things. But what I've seen is over the years, I've seen more people come back with the answer of social media, right? Now, is that all of their business? No. But if it was 20% of your business, right? 20% of your income, even 10%. Like if you want to add an extra 2 loans a month on average to your business, it's possible to do that with your social media content. Josh, I'm sure you've seen that happen.
Oh, 100%. And I'm glad that's a great segue into that conversation is I've 100% seen people, and there was a statistic that was floating around for a while. One of our good friends in the industry, she put together some data and some analytics behind like, hey, only 6% of business comes from social media. And I said, how did you track that? Like, because I disagree with that, because I've had so many clients of mine that have like, oh my gosh, Josh, since I've been posting content consistently over the last 6 months, I've picked up an additional like 6 loans, and the only place that I can possibly imagine they're coming from is posting on social. That's it. Like, and that's 6 loans a month. So yes, I 100% agree with you. But that's just it. It doesn't happen overnight. You don't start posting content today and start getting loans tomorrow. Although I've seen things like that, and it happens just because people are ready for it. And that's why we need to stay in front of our communities. But yeah, if you are posting consistently, if you're creating valuable content on a regularly consistent scale, and we can talk about what regularly means, because some people are like, they'll come to me and they're like, Josh, I want to start posting once a day. And I'll ask them, well, how often are you posting now? And they'll be like, I'm not. And I'm like, well, pump the brakes then. You're not going to start posting once a day because it will burn you out. And I'm very honest with them. Just because you hear Gary Vaynerchuk say you should be posting 10 pieces of content a day, and if you're not posting 10 pieces of content a day, you're worthless. And it's like, no way. If you're just starting out, 2 to 3 pieces regularly a week is fantastic. And like, that's where you should start. And yes, you can ramp up to once a day or twice a day or whatever it is. But there needs to be that ramp up, because you can't just jump on social and start creating content. And honestly, if you did, your community, your followers, they would be like, what is Jeff doing? Like, we haven't seen anything from you. And then all of a sudden I'm just getting bombarded with your content all the time. It's kind of like, whoa. You have to have that like introduction phase of like, oh, I see Jeff. I hear Jeff. Like I'm building that trust, that confidence, because you have to remember that's what this is all about. That's what you're trying to do with this. You're building trust. You're building confidence. You're building your brand, which your brand is an extension of your reputation. That's all your brand is. People get confused with, a brand is a logo or a slogan or this or that. No, your brand is your reputation. Your brand is what people are saying about you when you're not in the room. After the transaction is closed, after the deal is done, what are your clients saying about you? What are they saying? Jeff was amazing. Jeff, like, he helped me here. He helped us do this. I would always trust Jeff. Because you have to remember, the mortgage process, the real estate process, it's a very intimate experience. Very, like, you're getting to know social security numbers, incomes, children, so many things. And if you're not building that trust and that confidence and that respect during it, you're missing the entire point. And social media is completely designed just for that. So it really, in essence, like, you have to be having that as a goal in mind. It's not just that influencer idea. It's not just to make money off of social media. It's not going to happen. 2 deals, like you mentioned, honestly, Jeff, 2 deals a month, an increase over, the next 3, 4, 5 months is fantastic.
Hey, what if it's just 6 deals in a year? Like, and if the average commission is $3,000 alone, that's what is $180,000?
Dude, imagine that. Like, and here's the thing: people love to ask me, "Well, what's the ROI of social media?"
Sorry, 18.
And I'm like,
I did some bad math there. But
18. I was gonna say, I think it's 18,000. But hey, we're mortgage pros. We're not good at math.
I'm software for the DTIs.
But even 18 grand, you're making an extra 18, 20 grand a year off a few additional. And again, you're not paying anything.
By the way, that's just the beginning. That's just the beginning.
Exactly. Like that's like, I tell people, if you're not getting, and here's really my rule of thumb, you should be getting at least 10 deals a year from social media. So that's less than 1 a month. Like, you should be getting 10 deals. And again, going off of your average, you should be anywhere between. Yeah.
What does it take to get there? What does it take to ramp up to that?
Posting, like, the biggest thing to ramp up to that. Let's just take the average LO. The average right now, maybe you know this. We actually, one of our biggest clients is one of the biggest data aggregators in the entire industry, and we went to them and asked for some data to try to collect, and we did our best to try to get an idea of this. Do you have any idea what the average mortgage professional, average loan officer, and I know these numbers aren't perfect, so nobody come, oh, where the hell did you get this? And I'm not going to share the source because they ask us not to, but just know it's one of literally the biggest data aggregators in the entire country, who's a big client of ours. Jeff, do you know what how often the average mortgage professional posts a month?
3 to 5 times.
Less than twice.
Less than twice.
That's a month. That's less than twice a month, which is crazy to me. So that just shows the bar is so incredibly low. So when these people are saying, like, oh, I need to be posting, once a day, I'm like, no, you don't. Like, the average mortgage pro is posting less than twice a month. Like, you just need to be showing up once a week. Like, then you just doubled what the average mortgage professional is doing on a monthly basis. You put out 2 posts a week, like, you're crushing it. That's how you get there, Jeff. Like, that's how you do it. And you have to remember this too. So many mortgage professionals and real estate professionals, they follow other mortgage and real estate professionals. So they'll be like, well, Jeff already posted. I saw Jeff put a post about that. I can't post about that. Of course you can. Even if you and Jeff have it, maybe you and Jeff live in the same small town in Florida. I'm in Georgia. I'm in St. Simons, Georgia, which St. Simons has like 10,000 people, I think is what it is. So even if I live in this small little rural town in Georgia, and Jeff and I both live here, and we both make a post, sure, there may be some overlap, but that's even better for Jeff and I. Because even if we're relaying the same message, we're doing it in a very different way. Even if Jeff and I have the exact same script and we read it, people are going to connect with Jeff and people are going to connect with me. So you should never have this idea of like, oh, just because I saw somebody else do it doesn't mean, or I can't do it now. You should absolutely do it. Because again, the majority of your communities, people will say audience. I want people to be very clear. When I say community, some people call it an audience, but I just see it differently. A community is people you talk with. An audience is people you talk at. And you want to talk with people. You want to have a conversation. That's what social media is at. You're building a community of people. Think about your community, your neighborhood that you live in. It's a it's a community of people that you trust, you respect, you have admiration for. That's what you're building on social media as well. So to your point, Jeff, is how do you get there? You just start posting on a regular basis, and you start posting content that is going to connect with your community. The biggest mistake I see mortgage pros make, you and I know this. Mortgage pros, we are a wealth of knowledge when it comes to mortgage in particular. And we love to share mortgage knowledge. We love to spew mortgage content all the time. Your community doesn't want to hear mortgage content all the time. As a matter of fact, they don't care about mortgage content all the time. Like they care about what Jeff does on the weekend. You would never. We're coming up on the 4th of July. We're coming up on, one of the most patriotic times in our country. And you would never walk into a barbecue or a neighborhood block party and be like, ladies and gentlemen, y'all know what rates are doing right now? Did you know that rate? You would just never do that. Like, so the fact that people do it on social media is such a miss. It's just like to ramp up, to get to that 10 loans that we're talking about, Jeff, you just have to be relatively like, how would you approach going to hang out with your friends? How would you approach going to a block party? Like what are you going to be discussing? You're probably going to be discussing hobbies. You're going to be discussing, you went out on the weekend and you went bass fishing, you and your buddies caught some fish, or hey, did you see little Sally scored her first goal in soccer? Or hey, did you see, Bobby Joe just got, he just graduated high school and now he's off. Those are the conversations that you're going to be sharing. Those are the things that you're going to be relating to your community that people care about. That's what connects you with your community. They don't care about the greatest FHA program that just came out or the latest down payment assistance program. I'm not saying you can't share it, but it's just not all the time. Like I said, people don't care about that all the time. They're going to tell you when they care. And that's when the opportunity comes to share that content.
That's the easy lane for us to step into, because it's product related and we're so comfortable, and that's our identity is our product, and I do loans.
Yeah, exactly. And it is comfortable. Like it absolutely is. But that's why I was kind of on this journey for a while to get people outside of that comfort zone, because honestly, even you and I go to these mortgage events and these mortgage conferences, and sure, we talk mortgage talk or we talk marketing talk here and there, but most of our conversations are about, hey, how's the family? Hey, son's doing this, family's doing this, or this is great, or oh my gosh, this just happened, or whatever. Those are the conversations that we're having. So the fact that we think as mortgage professionals, just because we're comfortable talking about those things, we need to get into the mindset that it's okay. And I don't know who or where, and I will actually, and I'm not going to call any company out in particular, but there are plenty of companies out there like, oh, you should have your business page and you should be posting business content, and that personal life should not be related to business content. That's bullshit. Like that is absolute craziness. And I understand, and I'm not going to go down the whole compliance route. My good friend Ken Perry, if you ever have compliance questions, reach out to Knowledge Coop and the Ken Perry team, and they can help guide you in that. But when it comes to being compliant, just don't be stupid. Like don't be posting rates or certain terms or certain things like that, and you'll never get yourself in trouble. But this idea, right, Jeff, that we have to share mortgage content all the time and because that's what's comfortable or that's what's going to be compliant is just crazy. The most successful, and you've seen them and I've seen them, and I could give many examples of mortgage professionals who are doing it right. They share a mix of great business, valuable business content along with personal content, and it shows their personality. But this goes back to a very interesting thing that you said though, real quick, is you said watching my content, you're like, oh, sometimes I want to be more like Josh. I do the exact, if I see like, oh, I want to be more like Jeff, or I want to be more like this person, don't try to be them, just be you. Because when you start sharing your content, that doesn't mean you can't share something similar to them. But if you try to be somebody you're not, the internet has, or especially social media in particular, your community has a good BS meter. They know you. And if you're trying to be something you're not, they're going to stop trusting you. They're like, that's not who he is or she is. Like, that's just completely off character for them.
Okay, so let's say somebody's listening to this and they're one of those people that are doing the 2 to 5 posts per month, or they know that they want to post more often, but they deal with the two biggest struggles, which is I don't know what to post, and then post-production, editing, etc., which we'll cover that in a second. But what are some easy entry points for people when it comes to, identifying those opportunities that are content, air quotes?
Yeah.
You know what I
mean? Yeah, oh, absolutely. This is one of the questions we get asked. Like, I don't know what to post. And I always tell people, I'm like, especially in mortgage and real estate pros, you should have a plethora of ideas to post. Like you should have content upon content. What's the last question you got? What's the last question you got from a
so
borrower?
top questions you get. Top 5, top 10 questions.
Exactly. And you can do those over and over and over. So Jeff, something we actually built into the platform, and not to go back to Shredit, but something we did is we actually put in the platform prompts for the top 100 searched mortgage questions on Google. Like, and we're constantly updating those. Like, hey, what are the top 100 terms on mortgage or mortgage related right now? And we put those directly in the app for you. You can do a simple search on that. Like, hey, what are people asking on Google? What are some of the things that people are wanting to know about? Those, and again, that's just mortgage related. You can, if you're ever wondering, I tell people this, the first couple of posts, especially if you're getting started, you should literally, this sounds super corny, this sounds super like kindergarten-ish, but you should really do some questions like so people can get to know you. Like get to know Josh. Like you start this podcast. If you don't know Josh, if your community hasn't heard from you in a while, you should literally like, hey, I haven't been on here in a while. Here's some of the things that we're up to. Sally graduated high school. Little Johnny is off playing college football. What give people kind of that backstage pass of, hey, what's going on in your life? That is great content to start with. Like if you ever ask yourself, well, what should I post about? What's something you did exciting with the family this last week? Is there something you went through? Did you go do something with your girls? Did you go, do a workout class or a yoga? Did you did some hot yoga with a goat jumping on your back? The only reason I share that is I saw that on social, and I was like, what in the heck is
I want to try that
people?
actually. Goat yoga, man. It looks fun.
Dude, I guess goat yoga is a thing. So
it is.
Whatever, again, Jeff, to your point, there are so many ideas. Or here's another, if you're really wondering, like, and maybe you want to post mortgage content, go on your favorite social media platform and do a quick search for mortgage. You're going to come up, I guarantee you. Now, don't get lost in the scroll, as I call it, because you'll just scroll and scroll. Find a couple things that pique your interest, and if it piques your interest, create your own content about it.
I think, and so that's good advice. I think, so a few things I've written down since we've been talking. I love the fact that earlier you chose to not look at it as an audience, but a community. And I think what I love about that is, it puts this frame around it, which changes how you feel about it, the emotional attachment. Because like you said, an audience is you're speaking to, community you're speaking with. And then I thought of the word connection, because when you think about a community, what's a community about? It's about connection, right? It's about engagement and conversations. And to your point just a second ago about like the personal stuff, sharing what's going on in your life. I know some people are reluctant and hesitant to do that, but when you think about networking, right? And you're going to the traditional networking events and meeting and greeting, and everybody's like, what are you doing? You're talking about your life, right? And so what that has done now is what social media has done is move that networking on a platform. So it's the same outcome, meaning you're talking about your life. It's just the delivery mechanism is much wider potentially.
Exactly. Like that's all it is. Like you literally, what you just said, everybody should literally go back and rewind the last minute, 30 seconds of what you talked about. That is exactly what social media is. Like it is just real life amplified to the nth degree. And the fact that the average adult human being spends 2.8 hours a day on social media, 2.8 hours a day, Jeff. Imagine spending 2.8 hours a day in front of your friends. Like, there is no other. Like,
in a networking meeting. Imagine 2.8 hours in a BNI meeting.
Oh my hell! Could you imagine that? My goodness. But that's just
the
it.
point being is, why are you in that BNI meeting? To meet people.
To build a relationship, to build a connect, to build trust. That's why when you go to BNI, that's what you're building that trust, you're building that confidence every single week. So when people send you that referral, you can be like, hey, thank you. Like, I'm that trusted mortgage pro, I'm that trusted plumber, I'm that trusted whatever it is. Like, that's exactly why you do it. And now you can do it.
I'm jamming on that idea because I never actually mentioned that before. But you're the first one that brought that idea to the surface here But remember what you do at BNI? You stand up, everyone goes around the table, you give your 60 seconds or whatever it is. Here's who I am. Here's what I do. And remember how you sucked at that too? Standing up and saying like, hey, here's who I am. What you didn't want to do it. It was painful. Same thing with social media, man. Only this time you're grabbing the phone and you're doing it. You're just posting it. And then you don't even have to be in front of anybody and stand up. You can just record a video and post it. I think it's a little easier.
100%. Dude, it was way easier. People are saying, "Oh, I feel uncomfortable. I don't like the way I look on camera." And I'm like, dude, you look exactly the same on camera as you do in person. If you're going to BNI meetings, there's no reason you shouldn't be creating content on social media because you're standing up in front of people, you're talking to them, and you sound exactly the same and you look exactly the same as you do. So if you're doing those things, it's way more uncomfortable. And I tell people, Jeff, something that I get all the time though is like, Josh, well, I don't have that many followers. I'm gonna have 500 followers. I'm like, 500 followers? That's it. Like, have you ever been in front of a room of 500 people? You and I have. Like,
Yeah.
we've spoken
Yeah.
in front of 500 people. It's a lot of people. Like, if you,
Right.
99.9% of people, if you stood up in front of 500 people, you would be nervous. You could, like, I've talked to people, like, they're like, oh, I could never do that. I'm like, but that's what you're doing. Like on social media, you're in front of 500 people on a regular basis. Like, and again, people are like, oh, well, algorithms, da, 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 da. Sure. Okay, fine. Take a fraction, even that, 50 of them. Like in front of 50 people, most BNI meetings aren't over 50. Like if you get a really good BNI chapter, maybe you're over 50, 60s. I've seen some that go, up into the upper ranges, but that's a lot of people. And that's a great, and we show up week after week to BNI meetings and pitch the same exact thing. Holy cow. Like how much opportunity is out there?
Well, and it doesn't take 500 people to actually succeed and start to have transactions. You and I both know stories of people who have that many followers, sometimes less.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like I think you said on a previous conversation we had, which is you don't know who's watching. Like, we get hung up in the likes and the comments and, all that's relevant and has its place. But the real reality is people watch you without ever saying a word. And then when they're ready, right, they DM you.
Exactly. Yep. And that's just it.
Well, let's real quickly talk about this. I wrote down also quality versus quantity. And I think speaking back to that same person we mentioned a second ago, who's like in the range of 2 to 5 posts a month, wants to step it up a little bit more. I do think that in the early stages, it's a combination. It's the wide net quantity. And then over time, you bring that down to quality. Does that make sense?
For sure. 100%.
What would you say about that?
Yeah, it's a numbers game. So if you're not familiar with Mr. Beast is like my kids. Like I think Mr. Beast is brilliant, by the way, as well. But Mr. Beast is the top YouTube influencer. He has the largest following on social media, and he talks about this quite often. He said, "Hey, I did my first 100 videos to get them out of the way. They all sucked. They were terrible." He said, "But I did them, and I learned something on every single one of them. I got better and better and better and better to the point to where I was a couple hundred videos in, and I was focusing more on like what was the message, what was I sharing, the value of every single message. Your first 100 videos, every single one of you, they're going to suck. Okay? They're going to be a little bit better with Shredit, but for the most part, they're going to suck. Like it's all about just getting better at them. It's all about going through the practice and getting that confidence, getting that into that flow. So yeah, to your point, Jeff, like you just have to start creating content. Don't overthink it. I say this so frequently, perfection kills progress. If you're worried about what your first video looks like, you're never going to get to your 100th video. You just got to start recording it. You got to start putting them out.
You just got to get started. And by the way, seeing as you mentioned Mr. Beast, I just tried to look this up real quick. I don't know how current or accurate this is, but according to this stat, 287 million subscribers on YouTube. By the way, how many did he start with? Zero.
All
right. So that might be an extreme example. You're never going to have 280 million subscribers. That's not the goal. The goal is, let's circle this back full circle to personal brand. And everybody talks about consumer direct, right? You want to go consumer direct. I want to go consumer direct. Well, what the hell are you doing to even have a place for somebody to engage with you, a consumer?
Yep.
Like, I think on a previous call, you and I talked about the placement of a Google business profile is one of those, foundational pieces that you need. But today's consumer, they're like the hummingbird. When you get the referral, when you get the whatever, you come into their awareness stage, they're going to look you up on whatever different platform. Question is, what do they find? And you better have some type of a presence somewhere. Let's dovetail to this as well. What about when you're first starting out, being spread too thin, trying to be on all platforms? What do you suggest?
Oh, yeah. You don't need to be on all platforms. I tell people this all the time is whatever platform you spend the most time on is where you should start. I always like, people are always like, well, Josh, Facebook is dead. Facebook is not dead. Facebook has more active users than any other social platform, period. Like, look at the numbers. The number and data speaks for themselves. Plus, it's an older demographic, and that older demographic is typically who you're. People are always like, well, I want to be on TikTok because that's where the new generation of homebuyers are gonna. No, they're not. The new generation of homebuyers has a wealth gap that we've never seen, period. Like, that's a whole other conversation for another day. But TikTok has such a young demographic and a user base that, and they don't want to be the ones who have a steady income or a steady job. They're the entrepreneurs who are again, I'm all about it, but Facebook has that demographic. Never spread yourself too thin. Don't think you have to be on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and TikTok and LinkedIn and da. No, whatever platform you're most comfortable with, or whatever platform you use. Look up on your phone. If you're not on an iPhone, you can see what apps you spend the most time on. If you spend the most time on Instagram, start there. Why I love Facebook and Instagram is because Meta owns both of them, and you can cross post.
Yeah.
You're basically touching two platforms at once, which is why I love starting on one of those two platforms. People are like, "Oh, I want to start on LinkedIn." I'm like, great. LinkedIn is a great place to start. It's very business oriented. Like, I think you have to tailor your content a little bit more to that. Right. And I'm going to use the word audience because that platform in particular, it's very business oriented. YouTube is a beast in and of itself. If you're going to start on YouTube, like, people are like, oh, Josh, I want to start on YouTube because I see guys like Mr. Beast. YouTube is a beast in and of itself. There's a huge learning curve to it. Even though YouTube Shorts is helping simplify it, but start wherever you're best. If you're spending the most time on Facebook and Instagram, start there, get really good at that, and then you can branch out from there, but don't overwhelm yourself in the beginning.
Okay. So there's some good nuggets and takeaways there about content. What do I say? Let's transition into now the production side of things, how to post, editing, because I think, just to bring this full circle back to your app, which I've been testing and using wildly successfully. And then once again, I will highlight the thing that I think really, if it's a horse race of apps for social media editing and posting, yours is the only one that I'm aware of that has a live human that reviews your videos with the edits and fine tunes the output of that to your preferences. Not Opus, not all these other places. They don't do that. There's no human involved. So I think that's a huge competitive advantage, helping people overcome the hurdle of editing, posting, even what do I say, because you have the prompts in there. So I just want to say, once again, man, I'm a fan.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And a lot of people are always like, well, Josh, can I go find my own editor on Fiverr? Dude, good luck. Been there, done that. And I guarantee you the time that you spend on that and the what they will charge you per video will end up costing you way more in the long run compared to actually finding some. Like, we tried that too. We tried outsourcing. We tried so many different things to find these great people, but we just, until we brought them in-house and we trained them the way they needed to be trained and have the skills and being able to learn. And again, Jeff, we talk about relationships. That's why having a Shredditor on the back end is so important, because they get to know Jeff. They get to know his personality. They get to know how you say things, your mannerisms. That is key to being very successful on social media platforms, because again, you're trying to relate emotion. You're trying to share those things. And if it's not being captured in that way, you're missing the entire point. So having somebody, real human beings, mortgage professionals, we keep talking about, we don't want to be replaced. You can't replace video editing with just an AI. Not yet. There may become a day where sure, it may be able to do that, but not yet. People need to see that emotion. They need to have those little tidbits in there. So yeah, that's why we built it the way that we did.
Yeah, and you mentioned cost. I know that's a cost issue for a lot of people as well, because when you look at 4 to 8 or 10 videos a month, like, that begins to add up. And when you're talking about just exclusively hiring a live editor, I mean, I've looked at, and I've used different services over the past that costs $1,000, $2,000 a month for that, and that's another strong advantage to your platform, is you've got all of your plans are under $400. Whether that's unlimited videos or just getting started with 4 videos, there's 3 different tiers. So while we're talking about it, I'm just going to point it out for you listeners. If you want to check out the app, we've worked out something very special just for my listeners. There's a link in the show notes. It's shreditclips.com/radio. But you can link it up in the show notes as well. What are we giving for the listeners? They get a special bonus, right?
Yeah, they get an exclusive 15% discount. Like, that is just for you, and you'll use code radio once you're there. And dude, that's a huge offering to you and your community. You and I have become such good friends and such collaborators over the years. We want to do something special for you and your community because we know they're going to take action. They're not just sitting here, sitting back and not making things happen. They're going to go out and take action, make it happen, and go create amazing content. So we are honored to offer that to you and your community. So yeah, go get after it and have fun with it.
And once again, the reason why this conversation is happening is exclusively because somebody pushed your app in front of my nose, right? Even though I had the app downloaded, but I never used it. Well, and so this is the classic story with technology. We have a lot of stuff we don't use, right? And I would argue that some of the apps that you don't use, tools and stuff, could potentially make you more efficient and productive and impact your business. Some you need to get rid of that you haven't been using, right? And been paying and haven't been using. So by the way, that's called cleaning house. Do that. It's halfway point of the year. Time to revisit your accounting. I'm doing the same thing. Josh, check this out. You can relate this as a business owner. I'm holding up to the screen. Most people can't see. Yes, it's my handwriting, but these are things that I pay monthly for.
Wow.
There's like 15 things on that list. And I'm going through and I'm evaluating, is this actually helping me be more efficient, productive, or helping me make more money? I'm making the argument that if one of the areas for you with content production has been, what do I say and how the hell do I post it and do it in an efficient way? And that's been your resistance, your headwinds, go check out the Shredit app. Because if anybody knows me, like I don't bring a lot of people on here and talk about tools and resources. And like, people reach out all the time. Hey, dude, you want to do a paid ad? Like, no, like unless I'm using it or believe in it, I'm not going to bring it. So there you go.
I appreciate that. And you've been a great user on the platform. Go check out Jeff's content right now. He's doing amazing. And that's just it. We want to simplify it. Honestly, Jeff, we want people to show up. Everything we've talked about today is you're going to make an impact. You're going to change people's lives, but you have to be showing up for them. And that's what we want you to do. We want it to be so simple where you literally can do everything on your phone. You hit the record button on your phone, upload it through your phone, and then within 48 hours back on your phone, ready to go. That's how simple it is. You don't need a fancy camera. Don't need a fancy microphone like you and I are using now. You don't need it. I'm actually using my iPhone, funny enough, as a webcam. Yeah. So
wow,
you don't need anything crazy. Like all you need is your phone, and just go hit that record button, have fun, and get better every single day.
Love it. Love it. Okay. So listen, the other interesting thing is that what's great about this business is talk about not letting anything get in your way is you're actually, circumventing. You're like Lewis and Clark, right? Why don't you tell the listeners what you're doing, this new adventure in your life?
Yeah. So I mean, you might be able to see, I'm actually literally sitting on my sailboat. I'm in St. Simons, Georgia. I can show you outside. I'm literally sitting on the water right now. My wife and family, we decided that, hey, we want to throw caution to the wind, literally, and go try a new adventure. We sold everything in Utah, sold the house, sold most of our belongings, and everything we own, aside from a couple of boxes, is on here on the boat with us. And so, yeah, we decided that we want to go explore the world. So the next couple of months, we're on the East Coast because of hurricane season, because we can't cross down through the Caribbean right now because of the risk. So we're hanging out on the East Coast, getting comfortable with the boat. And then we're going to go down through the Caribbean, and then we'll go through the canal, and we're going to, circumnavigate the globe.
Once again, I have Josh envy.
We'll have to have you out, Jeff. That's you can come hang out on the boat and really tell me. I'll be 100% honest. We did our first big overnight passage 2 days ago. It was rough. I'm just going to say, be very honest. I did a post about it. The family, all of us were a little bit sick. It was pretty rough. It was a little bit bumpy, but we all were like, well, okay, that was a very, very good first overnight experience. And now we know what to expect.
It's just like posting video, man. The first one was rough. Didn't really like the outcome. Right. But guess what? You'll get better. You'll get more used to it. And then you'll be like, freaking the old man in the sea, just rocking that thing.
Yeah, I'm going to be rocking. You're going to see videos of us splashing through waves, cranking through hurricanes. Like, this is amazing. Let's go. But the first one definitely was a little bit rough and bumpy, but I couldn't have planned a better analogy. Like you just said, everything's, when you first start, it's always a little bit tricky. You're learning it. So start posting on social media, awesome. Have fun with it.
Yeah. So we're also going to link up your Instagram in the show notes as well. You got to go follow Josh. Which one is it? Is it Josh Pitts Shred for Instagram?
Yeah. Josh Pitts Shred is our latest one.
Okay, cool. So we can follow I'm looking at this one post right here. I see a bolt of lightning on this video. I'm going to have to go back and see what that's all about.
Yeah, that was our passage, Jeff. Like it was rough. We had lightning all around us. We had storms all around us. We had even planned it. Here's the craziest thing that won't go into it too much, but weather is never accurate on any app. I have like 9 different apps of weather. I don't know how weathermen make a living because they're always wrong, yet they still have a job. But what the sea is the most unforgiving thing I've ever met in my life. Like, and which is so amazing to me. But that lightning storm, I will say this, it was one of the most amazing and spectacular things I've ever seen. Although it was somewhat terrifying when you're on a boat, I've never seen anything so beautiful. So it was pretty cool.
You are exposed. You're out there exposed.
Gosh, in a way that you never, especially when you have your family with you and you're like, this is crazy. But at the same time, it's amazing.
That's cool. Well, hey, everybody, follow Josh's journey on his Instagram. We'll link it up in the show notes. And if you find something of curiosity or interest about the, the tool of the app, the amazing thing that Josh has created, check it out. And then link in the show notes, shreditclip.com. If you want 15% off, use the code radio. Josh, man, thanks for making time.
Thanks, man. Always an honor. Always a pleasure. You're the man. Keep it up, brother.
All right, everybody, you know what to do. If you like this episode as well, leave us a review. We'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.